Oh, welcome back my gardening friends. And the cupboard was bare. So I'm just going to quickly show you the grow room before we move up to the plot 1 tour. And hashtag shed wars, hashtag team over the pond. I'm on team over the pond, and basically shed wars is all about giving tips and hints and everything else so that we can help our fellow gardeners out, and hopefully team over the pond will win this. So a little setup in the greenhouse grow room. The bubble wrap's off the top now, and these buckets here are being prepared for my verticking, my vertical gardening, which is on plot 3, which will be a video after this. Some trailing tomatoes. These are from the sliced up tomatoes from my trailers, putting some compost and left in there over the winter. In the corner there we have a bloody butcher from Phil, cucumbers and one of my saved peppers. And just bringing a few things along, trying some Nero de Toscanio, whatever, kale instead of the dwarf. I still have got some dwarf on the allotment. Celery and some more 60-day rhubarb. Had some green fly on that. I did squeeze them, and then I used some of my rhubarb leaf tea insecticide on it. So I'm going to have to try some of the rhubarb leaf tea insecticide without actually touching the leaves. It hasn't done that one a lot of good at all. And that's one of the cheeky princes. And these buckets here are watered, ready for, I believe I've got some, there we are, it's the New Zealand spinach. It's not germinated very well. And this is, I'll show you the MarsHydro SP150 grow lights. So these are the grow lights that I've been reviewing over the last few months, and I'm quite happy with them. They're from MarsHydro. Wrong way round. Let's do this properly. And like I've said before, but if you have a look in the description below, it gives you all the details on them. And in my next video on my birthday tour of plot 3, there will be a question, and then you'll be added into a draw for these MarsHydro SP150s LED lights. And as long as you're in the areas of the in the description, the links below, MarsHydro will send them directly to you. If not, unfortunately, we won't be able to get them to you. So please just check that you are able to get these sent you. And all the videos are in the in my playlist under MarsHydro SP150, and I'll put a card in at the end, or should we say an end screen video. Let's get off to plot 1 and do the tour. So we arrive at plot 1, and this is our fruit garden with amongst other things. And I spent 2 years getting this allotment like it is now, and in my playlists under hashtag starting a new allotment, you can watch every episode and every step of the way on this journey. And a good tip is to create a decent barrier to stop any weeds coming in. And these plastic boards that are plentiful here on our allotments, probably 20-30 years ago when they arrived, but they certainly do a good job. And the gate, I believe that was one of the first videos on hashtag starting a new allotment. You need a good gate. And then we followed on with a fence, etc. So let's go and have a little look around. I'm not feeling overly brilliant this morning. I think you might be able to tell that in my voice. Now, the taller of these raspberry canes, I wasn't sure whether they were autumn or summer fruiting raspberries, because they're all volunteers, or what I've found on this allotment, and come from plot 3 when we took them out the fruit cage, because you don't have to protect autumn fruiting raspberries from the birds. They don't seem to like them as much as the summer fruiting. So that's another little tip for hashtag shed wars. I've still got to put the supports around this one. Here we did mention before, what am I doing? Putting all my rhubarb leaves into this container. Well, I'm making rhubarb leaf tea insecticide. In the next episode I'll show you some of the results. I did have to add some liquid soap on some, just to see how it worked as a comparison, and I think a little drop of soap in any insecticide will help kill those bugs. And we've got some volunteer poppies there. So this single strand is ideal, but when you actually tie in everything from both sides, it becomes compact and not open, difficult to pick the fruit. So we changed a little idea using those straps, so creating this. Again, this is something that I'd been thinking about before, but these straps are ideal, hopefully. We've taken all the volunteers out and any of the weeds, and now these can grow up and spread out, and we should be able to dive in from each side to collect the fruit. The blackberries are doing absolutely wonderfully, with lots and lots of blossom and lots of pollinators there, helping to give us a good crop. As you can see, after 3 or 4 years, some of these structures that I built way back are starting to fail, so extra pegs are holding it all up. We've got some in the middle there as well. The strawberries don't do so well in amongst these, mainly because of the shade, but there's quite a few with some small fruits on. So hopefully we'll get a few and share them with the birds as well, and slugs. So another tip for shed wars: when all the raspberries are there growing, the rhubarb always used to flop right over, because I made such a good job of this rhubarb patch. Again, you'll see that in hashtag starting a new allotment, how we did that. The massive trench we built, dug and filled it full of good stuff for them to grow, because we knew we'd never get back there again. It does grow really well. And now this pallet fence is holding everything up and creating some extra long stalks. We'll be looking at a video all about rhubarb and the rhubarb leaf tea insecticide in a future video. But these leaves are massive, and it's always best to get these volunteers pulled out so they don't establish themselves. It looks like I've kept on top of all the seed heads, let's dive in, guys. Here we go. But if any seed heads, just take those off. It'll help your rhubarb grow, and it's definitely growing. I'm always looking out for materials that I can reuse, repurpose. Never a short supply if you look hard enough. There's a little bit of wire there. These pallets that I was going to use for the long vegetables I didn't use in the end, so I'll be taking those off, and they'll be one of the sacrificial boards to help stop the beds rotting. The spent compost that you can see there is what I find that's dumped on the side of the road from the cannabis growers, and it's either birds there or rats taking that. And I think that might be birds actually. They're finding some nest material, but I find this compost really good for mulching, and you'll see that on my next tour, which is my birthday tour. We've got a few things set in the fruit trees. We've looked at the strawberries. Another little bit of rain and obviously wind today. Some of the strawberries have been affected by the frost, and you get the black eyes in the middle there. You may as well just take those out. Carefully, of course. But go black in the middle, they're never going to fruit. So there's a healthy one, so we can keep taking these off. He says, as he's never got time to do nothing. We have more cherries than we had last year, so I should definitely net in this. I treated some of this with the rhubarb leaf tea insecticide, and that doesn't look too bad. So that has been treated, that hasn't. So that's definitely a good sign. Pleased with that. Dear me. Well, we haven't got time to be ill. Potatoes over there. So I repurposed those cloth sacks. They're 56 litres. These are some of the potatoes that we didn't plant in the raised bed on plot 3. So they're the Marfonia 4 seeds. This is the unknown variety. And look at those go. Doesn't take long just to pull a few weeds out. And I do try and use these deeper containers to put the water, but I am feeding them with my fish poo. If you're wondering what fish poo is, again, pop to my playlists under homemade liquid plant foods, compost mixes and activators. But the compost is always reused, I find. Recycle, repurpose, never thrown away. So this is normally for my, I've never used, I think I did use it last year, but these are for the Nettles, for the nettle liquid food. This is for the comfrey. First lot of comfreys in there. And then this is for the perennial weeds, missing the eye, still haven't done that. Watch and it's cooking and bubbling away. So all my weeds that I don't like to put in the compost bin, the rooty ones, the ones that would repopulate, go into that bin to rot down. I've been filling that for over 12 months now, and I'll be using the liquid from that to feed whatever. So in front of us there, that's my Trommel. Again, in my playlist, the Trommel build, and it's worked from this petrol mower. So I've sealed everything up so there's no open blades, and then I've welded this wheelbarrow tyre onto here, onto the drum. That turns that way, that turns that way, that turns the Trommel the other way. but I'm hoping to go electric and solar power so that we don't have the fumes. So getting back to this, in that pallet bay there we have the 2-year leaf mould. So they're the leaves we collected in 2018. These are the leaves we collected in 2019. It was way up there. There is actually 20 odd 1-ton bags. So the cloth 1-ton bags up there, so they're a cubic metre. There's 20 of those in there. And last year we collected, I think it was 16 or 18, and we ended up with 3 wheelie bins full of leaf mould, and that is some going. This is the area that I mix all my homemade composts, add whatever I've got. Cardboard collection in there, kept nice and dry, and all me bits and bobs that we collect. Because of the build on plot 3, I never used as much liquid plant foods as I normally do, so we have got surplus. And with the lockdown rules, I'm not collecting nettles this time. This is the wormery bin liquid from here. It's collected via the pipe. It's a complete sealed system, and all the liquids from the compost bin wormery drop into there, and we tub it up. And because I compost my wood chips and use it in my mixes, I'm going to be pouring it on these wood chips, because these wood chips next year will be harvested, sieved and reused. So that's another tip, as many as I can tell you today. So we'll be taking these. That's why I don't mind if I spill compost or liquids on these, because it doesn't really matter. There's some weeds. Oh dear, dear, dear. Grapevine outside, that didn't get caught by these late frosts. When growing grapevines that you want to grow within a structure, whether it be a polytunnel, greenhouse, whatever, always plant the grapevine outside and feed it in. Then you don't water, you don't feed the grapevines once they're established. Those roots will go way down and pick up nutrients from wherever. Now that's where you can see now the wind and the frosts have taken the grapevine there. But hopefully I'll be able to sit in my harbour, reach up and pull my grapes. Those grapes, not the ones that I occasionally get down below. Too much information. These are the seeds that I harvested from my asparagus. As you can see, we're taking quite a bit of that now because it's well established. That's a volunteer. Whether that came in some bird poo or where a previous plot holder had got his asparagus, I don't know, but it just fell in between that little corner. Unbelievable. And as you can see, this is where it's staying. Do need to get a few weeds out of there, but I just don't want to damage these and let them die back naturally. And I must get that tied up to the fence, else it'll be on the floor. This is all the manure runoff. This is the best stuff, so I'm keeping that. A little tip when harvesting your own comfrey is to harvest half at a time, so that the bees are still interested in your growing spaces. Once this one starts to grow back a bit, that's flopped over because of this hot weather, but you can see all the new growth. Once this starts growing so high and starts flowering, I'll take that harvest and put into the comfrey wheelie bin. This is my giant cabbage. I enter the giant vegetable show at Malvern here in the UK, and this is my probably only cabbage, because of issues up at my father's allotment, and it's already started to heart up. There's a pipe there which feeds everything, and this collar is only there to support the leaves and add a little bit more of a deterrent for any slugs. And the net on the top is just so that the pigeons can't fly in and land on the top. Pigeons like to fly in and land on top of your brassicas. So if you see the next plot tour, my birthday plot tour, you'll see what I've done to stop them flying in. They don't like to walk in very often. They don't feel safe. Another future video, my wick rain guttering system. It's now switched on, all ready to go. The wicks are working well. This one will be for demonstration purposes. The water's in there, and the wicks, one that I didn't weed because I like to show you what's happening. There's the wick at the bottom, drawing up the moisture. Keep that covered up, stop the water from going green. As always, only less than 1/3 of your water should be showing so it doesn't go green. A tip for anybody that's got these barrels, I cut them down slightly, then the lid drops into the insert. I'll drill a hole in the top so any water that runs on there goes back into the barrel. And hopefully my pomegranate bush will fruit this year, or it's coming out. This is my wildlife area, again in my playlist. This is like a hotel. The first layer is for the frogs because it's a wet area, and then we go up to different other layers for other creatures. This is a water feature that was being thrown out outside somebody's property. I cut a bit of a V in that, and the water then gets pumped round, flows and aerates that. And this is the first time that this has ever flowered. And the little bit of rain that we've had this morning has slightly spoilt it, but this was at home around my pond, and it never really got established, but it's really rocking now. Previous videos you'll see what's under there, the logs, hollowed out logs that we collected from when we cut the trees up. Obviously a lot of trees that fall down are rotten, so I always save a few. And we did a little bit of a makeover, and again all those weeds are coming through. Very difficult, but you have to have something to do. Hashtag sunflower challenge. This camera does not like the light much, but basically we've got a row of sunflowers here, a row there. They're the ones that I got from a plot over there. Nick's sunflowers are there. Bill and Val's allotment, the harlequins are along there, and Alan's fluffy sunflowers are here. So when I'm sitting on the bench, I can actually enjoy everything there. And then when I'm sitting in my harbour eating my grapes, there should be a lovely display of sunflowers there, and the bees will be hearing landing in there. What a wonderful place to sit. These are some of my liquid plant foods. You can see they're swelling up, but that's the manure, that's the comfrey, that's the compost wormery. That looks, oh, that's the banana runoff. You see, it's runoff. Nettles, could be coffee, and most important, rainwater. So rainwater, we collect it off the roof there. It comes down into one barrel. It goes down again there into another, the galvanised tanks that we found on the allotment. And underneath there are some hibernaculums for insects, frogs, everything else. And we also collect water off the top of the compost bin. Let's have a little look in there. Here's some of the rubbish that I've found in the compost, guys, as you do. This is where my rats lovely come in and have a dig. Not much left now. Starting building the pile up there. This is where the rats were coming in, as well as there. And they've even tried gnawing through those galvanised nails. So water's collected from there, and then water's collected off the greenhouse. All you do is fasten the guttering on and then cut a hole in there, fold it over. Water runs into there, round the corner, around and down into the barrel. Again, we keep as much of this covered as we can to keep the water crystal clear. And we've got barrels everywhere for surplus water. So at the far side there, we've got the 2 manure bins. I did show you in a previous video my thoughts on the blinds, so I shall have some supports up there, and then those blinds will, the strings will come down this way, and then I'll be able to pull the lid up. I want the water to run this way and that way, and then collect the water in a barrel there. You never got enough rainwater. We're talking about strawberries. Vine weevil has been my pain in the Aris for absolutely years here. So we changed the strawberry tower because that got completely destroyed by them. But if you do have strawberries in a container off the ground, put some gravel, because the vine weevil moth fly doesn't like laying its eggs around the tops of your strawberries plants if there's gravel there. I did try it, it did work for a while, but we've got so many. And this is what happens when you forget to water. So these will be coming out, and I'll be putting some of my giants in here. And there's a few there still going for replacements, but I did promise somebody else those. So we've got the white currants out of the fruit cage. So that's my plot over there. Square foot gardening, vertical gardening, so don't miss that episode, which will be up following this one. And this is the manure runoff bins. It's now a storage bin at the moment because I can't fetch the manure because of the restrictions. So I've been saving the manure. As you can see, we've got lots of things growing in there. So the fresh, and I mean fresh, straight out of there, onto the floor, into here. And it's an IBC cut in half. Mainly it was damaged, so we repurposed it, same as the other side. And the juices flow out into there, and it's lovely stuff. And again, there's no harm in actually spreading it all over those wood chips. I've got plenty of it, and that will help the wood chips break down, and then help me save pennies in the garden. This barrel's full to the top as well, but trouble is I haven't got a roof on it, so all the rain got in. That's why I've saved those other barrels, but we've got all these sheets to make a nice dry place, so we only get the concentrate. We don't want it mixed, makes it more difficult. And there was an allotment, somebody had a fire on an allotment, we had to tidy it up, so I've salvaged the hinges. So these hinges will go up there, and hopefully it'll be going like that. Didn't use my finger, guys. And that massive poppy. Oh, there's one down there. Why is that growing down there? Oh, it is. But these are almost as big as your hand. Very pretty. So there's the hopefully not a dwarf sunflower. Don't know how I'm going to tie it at the top, but hey ho, we can always try. So hashtag shed wars. I'm on team hashtag over the pond, team over the pond, and hopefully we'll win. This is all about hints, tips, etc. And somebody did ask me, they love these mushrooms. Well, again, in my playlist under logging and storage, you can see how I make these mushrooms out of logs. just looking back at the 2-year leaf mould that will get put through my trommel later on in the year, so keep a watch. And say if you've been interested in what I get up to or like the video, please consider subscribing, hit that like button, and please share the videos. I really like making videos to share I do garden differently, not always right, but it always seems to work, and I do try and garden on a budget, but sometimes we have to spend a few pennies. And by that I don't mean those sort of pennies, the wee pennies. Happy gardening to you all. Please look in the description below if you're interested in the MarsHydro LED lights. There is going to be a free giveaway to people who can access the links below, and the competition question or questions will be in my next video. And MarsHydro will send you the winner the lights directly to yourselves. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now.